Everybody's here.
Yeah. Thank you, Lindsay. We are live here and I want to welcome everyone to the public hearing concerning judicial retention. We are your committee members and before we get started, I would love for each committee member to just introduce yourself, name and where you represent.
Brian Collmore, Senator, representing the Rutland District.
Alicia Millay, representative for Pittsburgh and Proctor.
Tom Oliver, Sheldon and Swanton.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Senator Ruth Hardy from the Addison District.
Hello, I'm Connor Casey from here, Montpelier, the state rep.
And I'm Angela Arsenault, a representative from Williston. So we want to thank you for being here and to folks on Zoom as well. Thank you so much for being here. Just a couple of words about what tonight is for. A really important part of our judicial retention process. This is an opportunity for folks to come and actually speak to us. We have a lot of information in our binder from surveys that are sent out, but it's always great to hear from people as well, live on Zoom. So I have a list of folks who have signed up to speak. You're welcome to speak even if you've not signed up, but I just wanted to read the list because that's the order we'll go in. And then I'll check in and see if anyone is here who isn't on the list. So we have Mike Hill, Lisa Eastman, Diane Filimonov, who has provided written testimony, I believe, but you're welcome to read it if you're here. I don't see. Teresa Seep, Nikki South, Robert Lees, Donna Waters. So is there anyone who wishes to speak who isn't yet on the list?
Hi, my name is Brooke Perrin. I would love to speak.
Great. Thank you, Brooke. You will be after Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will be swearing in each witness. We do require that witnesses testify under oath. And just because there might be, we have an hour and a half or more here. So in case people might trickle in after this very moment, rather than try to keep track of who's sworn in and who isn't, I'll just administer the oath one at a time once you're ready to speak. And one more sort of logistical point to make. And just, I guess, for a little bit of like expectation setting as well. This hearing is really that. We'll take the word hearing quite literally in that we are here as a committee to receive information from people. It's not been the practice of the committee to question witnesses at the public hearing. So we are really here to hear what you have to share and to take in the information that will help us in our deliberations. So I would like to call Mike Hill to. Is there a chair? I don't see a chair there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's no reason you should have known intuitively.
Sorry, yeah.
So, Mr. Hill, I ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury, or so help you God?
Yes, and I'll say the same about the comments that I've submitted to the committee as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Please proceed. And we'll give, we'd like to about 2 to 3 minutes each person, if you can keep it to that general realm.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks to the committee for asking the questions. December 6th, it was very constructive to do that. And thank you for having this hearing and the opportunity to submit comments. So to keep it short, everything I need to say is in my comments. I made sure of that. I will add some things today and I'll answer any questions, but I gather that's not the practice. In a nutshell, I started my legal practice here almost 40 years ago. I loved it. I worked for the chief judge of the federal district court and for the attorney general's office and for Bill Gray, who I consider the best lawyer in the state. And I loved it. They were 3 of the best lawyers I'd ever seen. And I loved I also went to Vermont Law School for a year and I served on the board of their Environmental Law Center and of the law school. I love it. But I came back here you know, mostly retired. I still work. I still represent the Air Force around the country. And that's an important fact because I don't practice in Vermont. I'm not beholden to the bar here at all. I'm a member of the bar here. I have been for 40 years or almost. Yeah. So I can tell you the truth with no fear or favor. After I came here, my neighbor told me about a proceeding he was going through. His adult son is highly, highly disabled, Down syndrome, nonverbal, probably somewhere on the spectrum. And I've seen his son testify. He shouldn't have been asked to testify at all because his aptitude is really that of a 2-year-old. He can't speak. He can only do sign language, but there's nobody who would look at him for more than 3 minutes and say that his aptitude is greater than a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. Despite that, he was, well, and Dan, when Tucker was the boy's name, and he is a child. I mean, and legally, when one is disabled as a child, parents have a right to continue to raise that child even after the 18th year. And that's no question here. And when Tucker turned 18, the mother, who's been estranged from the father, really the entire 20 years of Tucker's life, 24 now, asked in an ex parte filing with the court to be the sole guardian. And Dan, you know, thought they should both be, but he said, okay, she can be sole guardian, but Tucker's been with me 3 days a week his entire life. We do all kinds of things that he doesn't get with his mother. Dan recognizes that the mother should be part of Tucker's life too. But he said, well, I'm okay with the mother being sole guardian and getting all the Social Security benefits. This is not a financial dispute. But I do want assurance that Tucker's going to still see me 3 days a week on the same schedule that we've had for 18 years or 18 years. And that was set to the half hour. And Judge Lewis, and this is important, Judge Bernard Lewis was the original judge, said absolutely, and the mother agreed absolutely. They stipulated to a schedule, and there was a history of the mother estranging the boy from Dan, 2010 to 2011. Another court intervened, said, no, stopped it, got him on this schedule. And it went okay but Judge Lewis said in 2019, yes, we will have this schedule and there will be no changes at all, Dan, unless you can meet with Tucker in person to talk about, not even an hour change. They did discuss maybe that if he wanted to stay late one day for an activity or something, and they wanted to give him a sense of ownership on his life, but that was it. And long story short, the mother again, right after COVID, said he's staying with me. He says he doesn't want to go with you. And that has happened to this day. Dan is now scheduled, after I filed this, to see Tucker for the first time in over 4 years this coming Saturday, although even that's not in a court order yet. There have been some movement in the last couple of months, and that's a supplement to what I wrote to you 2 days ago because it happened yesterday in a court filing. So that's good news, but the courts still haven't gotten Tucker with his father for even a minute, not at Christmas, not any time, and the record is complete. Zero evidence, and this is also from a court-appointed lawyer who represented Tucker. There is zero evidence that Dan is anything but a loving and great father. And I only represented Dan pro bono. That's why, and because I could immediately say this was a great, great injustice in my career, and I represent the Air Force, the Army, even the White House, others. What I've done more than anything else is settle cases, and I was sure I could settle this case in minutes, literally minutes, but it has gone on for another 3 years. And that is only because, and this is the nucleus of what I'm going to say to you, and I'm going to wrap up, gross ethical violations by the original judge, and very importantly, by Judge Tomasi. Gross ethical violations. They can't be disputed. You have 100% of their evidence before you on them. And this child abuse, these ethical violations made what the court-appointed attorney described as, and I absolutely agree, is child abuse. And Judge Tomasi extended it for at least a year, and one could argue close to 2 years. So it couldn't be more serious. The bar is not going to do anything about this. The violations here, the most pronounced were of ethics rules 3.1 and 8.3, and I've given you links to those in my materials. Those two rules are probably the two most important legal ethics rules. They have never once been enforced in Vermont. There are violations of them over 1,000 times a year in Vermont, according to a Vermont Bar Association survey. I'm not saying they're under enforced. I'm not saying that they're enforcing it only half the time or a tenth of the time. They have never once been enforced in Vermont. And I have filed, and I'm not allowed to tell you because it's an extraordinarily dark, flawed process. All decisions not to enforce can't even go to the Supreme Court. And your Supreme Court, our Supreme Court, because I'm a resident here now, is outstanding. Chief Justice Reiber is outstanding, but he cannot see decisions not to enforce. So twice I have gone to the Professional Responsibility Board when the board here has just said, we're not going to enforce our rules and we're not given a reason. I have said, well, they did give reasons the first time. And I said, look, these are not reasons under law. These are violations in themselves. You have to tell the Chief Justice. And the PRB refused. So the Supreme Court is in the dark about literally the enforcement of the judicial and the legal profession here. So
Just want to let you know we're at about 6, 7.
only the legislature is going to fix this. California had a similar problem 2 years ago. And so they began an investigation of bar enforcement authorities. And they introduced legislation and they changed the rules. That's going to happen in Vermont. But the immediate thing before you now is that I gave this committee comments in December showing without a doubt 2 + 2 = 4. You don't have to go to law school to see it. He violated ethics and he extended child abuse as a result of it. Now, if he's got a reason for what he did, it should be brought to light. I want all of my comments in the light. I want this whole process brought to light. It's dark and democracy dies in darkness. What Judge Tomasi and the judge he was required to review did here is an attack on the rule of law. It's an ignoring of the rule of law. And so you all have an enormous opportunity here to be the state lab, Vermont to be the brave state, as California has been and as others. The federal courts are not going to, the federal Congress is not going to do this. It's going to have to come from you. It's going to have to be grounds up. I promise you, and I'll come back anytime you want to ask any questions you want under oath. This is a very clear case of the need for judicial intervention to stop the child abuse. The courts still today haven't ruled on a motion to modify the guardianship, nor have they even acknowledged the brief saying that the father has been denied his due process rights. The only reason these two judges, and I'll wrap up in 15 seconds, are on this case is because Judge Lewis was removed by the Judicial Conduct Board for taking too long on a property case. And he was publicly reprimanded. That is a molehill compared to this mountain. That is jaywalking compared to drunk driving while you're hitting people. So I'll respectfully thank you for your time and tell you this is as bad a case, not only as I've ever seen in my career, but as I've ever heard of or read of or had anybody else tell me of in their career. It is as bad as it could be. So again, it's up to you and I'll help you in any way I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Appreciate you being here. We'll go next to Lisa Eastman. On Zoom or not?
Here.
Don't see Lisa.
Good evening.
Oh, there
I'm
you
on
are.
Zoom.
Hi.
Good evening.
Okay, Lisa, I just need to
Swear
swear
in.
you in.
Okay. I'm raising my right hand.
I
Okay.
can't see her, but I'm sure your hand's up.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury, or so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Eastman. I am the Orange County Deputy Clerk and have worked for the judiciary for 25 years. I am here to speak on behalf of the Honorable Elizabeth Mann. I worked with Judge Mann from November 1st of 2022 through August 31st, 2024. Orange County is a multi-jurisdictional court where one judge handles everything. family, criminal, civil, juvenile, and mental health. I have seen firsthand on a daily basis for 2 years that Judge Mann has maintained decorum in the courtroom even under the most stressful situations. She has shown grace, confidence, kindness, and empathy towards litigants, attorneys, court staff, and security staff. I have three important examples of her fairness and kindness in the courtroom. One, on the very busy criminal day with a packed schedule, an attorney and his client arrived and they were not on the schedule. Though they did not follow the established procedure to have their hearing, Judge Mann realized that the defendant had traveled a distance to get to the courthouse and was able to rearrange the court schedule to fit them in, and was very courteous and professional. Secondly, we have a lot of pro se litigants that need extra time or more of an explanation on various issues. Judge Mann appreciates that pro se litigants need more information and time to understand the process and their obligation, and she gives them this without telling them how to represent themselves. And she is very kind and considerate of each litigant during this process as well. And thirdly, there was a civil eviction jury case that was set for jury draw. The defendant who requested a jury did not attend the draw. Judge Mann graciously wrote an entry order mapping out the date the defendant had to file with the court her reason for not appearing for jury draw. This shows great empathy for a pro se litigant and understanding that people are human and make mistakes about hearing dates. Ultimately, the parties settled their case on the next jury draw. Judge Mann always allows parties to be heard and takes the time needed to make sure all parties and attorneys understand what is expected. Judge Mann is one of the most professional judges that I have worked with. She has taught me that fairness, grace, kindness, integrity are the most important parts of our job in the judiciary. I am very honored and proud to speak on her behalf this evening. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Diane is next on the list. I don't think that's, no, that's, okay. So I don't think Diane is on Zoom, right? We have written testimony that was submitted and that will be shared.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. Is it customary to read that into the record, or we're good to?
No, not typically, but it can
Okay.
be forwarded to the committee members.
Yep, that would be great to have it forwarded. Thank you. Teresa. It's Teresa. Oh, hi.
Think you're muted.
Yep. All right. Welcome. I will read the oath and you can unmute to answer. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury, or so help you God?
I do, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Seppi, and I appreciate the committee's time and commitment to taking public comments related to retention process of presiding judicial judges in the state of Vermont. I was recently made aware that public comments could be made during this process. I first would like to briefly describe my background and experience with numerous presiding Superior Court judges in Windham County Superior Courthouses. I was a court security officer for the Honorable Judge Murtha, who was a presiding federal judge in Brattleboro, Vermont for a number of years. After his retirement, I was asked to apply with the security position in Windham County Superior Court. In 2018, I was hired as a part-time court security officer in Windham County Superior Court. And in February of 2022, I was moved into a full-time position with Windham County Superior Court. Presently, I am a first-line supervisor for all court offices in the Windham County Superior Courthouse. I first started working with Judge Mann's courtrooms in 2021 when she was assigned in Brattleboro, Vermont Courthouse. Judge Mann returned to Brattleboro, Vermont Courthouse in 2023. I have been court security in her courtroom for hundreds of cases over this tenure. Judge Mann's primary hearings are in the family court, which include relief from abuse, domestic disputes, child custody issues, juvenile criminal matters, and mental health dockets. I would describe Judge Mann in two distinct characteristic traits. They are passionate and compassionate. Judge Mann repeatedly takes the time to allow all participants, including attorneys, plaintiffs, respondents, and witnesses, to speak. In all the years as a law enforcement officer and now as a court officer, I have never seen another judge take the time and effort that Judge Mann takes in her demonstration in her courtrooms. Judge Mann speaks directly to all parties, allowing them to have ample time to communicate information that she needs. I am passionate about juveniles. I have always been passionate about juveniles. I have witnessed Judge Mann speak directly with juveniles, making them understand what is needed to have a successful outcome to a court hearing. I believe that in doing this, Judge Mann is truly compassionate towards the people in her courtroom, which is apparent when at the end of a case, it comes to a successful outcome and families are reunited. Judge Mann is very committed to seeing that all court hearings are conducted in a respectful and a timely manner. In doing this, Judge Mann makes it clear to all participants, especially attorneys, of what is expected to move into a hearing along in a timely manner. She allows attorneys to speak on all aspects of the case, including allowing plenty of time to file documents that they feel that Judge Mann needs to review during the hearing process. It is obvious that Judge Mann is knowledgeable. Her knowledge of law is vast. She is always prepared and obviously reviews documents prior to appearing in her courtroom. I have observed her reviewing extensive notes with attorneys prior to continue a hearing, which usually occurs at different times, sometimes weeks after the initial testimony from witnesses. Integrity is everything. It's the only thing. Judge Mann, integrity and demeanor is a powerful example to anyone who comes into her courtroom. It has been and continues to be an honor and a privilege to work with all the presiding judges in Windham County Superior Court, and Judge Mann is no exception to that. I would like to again thank the Judicial Retention Committee for their commitment to this process and for the ability to communicate my views on a passionate and compassionate person. The Honorable Judge Elizabeth Mann is that person. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Thanks for your time.
You're
We
welcome.
will-
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
We will move next to Nikki South. Hi, Nikki. I'll ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury, or so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Nikki South, and I'm the managing attorney of South Law in Sharon, Vermont. I became a lawyer for a lot of reasons, but number one among them was that this was an opportunity for me to continue to learn throughout my adult life and continue to practice a craft and improve upon it. Judge Mann, the reason that I am here tonight, holds me to the highest standard that I expect of myself. And because of her, I am a better lawyer every day. I practice juvenile law, and it is not an exaggeration that I would change the contracts that I have with the Public Defender's Office to follow Judge Mann wherever she is assigned around the state. It is rare that we see judges appointed that have an interest or experience in the juvenile division. And Judge Mann takes her work in the juvenile division especially seriously, and she is committed to seeing that division held to the highest standards. I have seen that especially in two counties that I've worked with her in Windsor County, where she ran the tightest, cleanest docket. We had an exceptional backlog of cases at the time that we worked there together. She got those cases on track and made sure that when attorneys came to court, they were prepared for how to move a case that may have been 2 or 3 years old into permanency. In Windham County, where I currently work with her, the bar has seen some turnover where some long practicing attorneys have since retired, and there's new blood in the juvenile bar. This has caused some changes in practice, and Judge Mann is working diligently to make sure that everyone understands how we all work and how we can be a more collaborative bar, as well as we have some of the best, most dedicated guardians ad litem in the state. And Judge Mann respects the role that they play in the courtroom and makes sure that the juvenile bar practitioners also respect that role. And she's working on our collaboration there as well. The issue is that she sees us as a system, and she thinks system-wide about how we can improve our judicial process. And it's very meaningful to me as an attorney to watch her be a systems thinker and see how that can improve my own practice and outcomes for my clients. I also have a private family practice, and I seem to have developed a bit of a niche practice in representing dads. And one of the troubling things sometimes about representing fathers is that every father comes to the table and says, there's no way I could ever get sole custody of my kids because I'm a dad. And sometimes they're right. The one thing that I can say is that when I'm in front of Judge Mann, I am never worried about an implicit bias against fathers when I bring my clients before her. She is fair and open-minded about a parent's right to be a parent, regardless of their sex, regardless of their race, regardless of their socioeconomic status. She presents an opportunity for every family to come as they are to the courtroom and to show up honestly and present their evidence, and everyone gets a fair shot to do that in her courtroom. I also know that she engages with me with an open mind, both in court and out of court. She was the first judge that I ever presided in front of in juvenile court in my very early years practicing law. And I appealed her decisions twice in the first year that I was practicing. I won one and I lost one. And in spite of all of that, she still continued to support my passion for the practice. She never stopped encouraging me to be a better lawyer. Even when we strongly disagreed on an issue, she was always able to provide me feedback to be a better lawyer, to support my independence in the practice, and encourage me to grow in my juvenile practice. She continues to be a role model for me as I develop and expand my own firm. When I was looking to design and implement a 360 feedback survey for the associates in my law firm, she was the first person that I went to say, help me think about this in a systems-wide way. What sort of things would you like to be able to openly give feedback on to attorneys in your courtroom? In the same way that judges receive 360 feedback and that you all have binders full of right now. I want to see that for my attorneys. And I knew that Judge Mann could help me develop the best system for that feedback. She is a systems thinker, as I stated, and she always has an eye on improving everyone that comes into her courtroom, not just the families, not just the defendants, but the attorneys as well. She will continue to hold us to the highest standard, and she makes me a better lawyer every day, and it's absolutely my privilege to support her retention today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikki. Thank you for being here. We will move now to Robert Lees.
Good evening.
Hello. I'll ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalty of perjury, or
I do.
so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to comment on Judge Mann's retention. My name is Robert Lees. I'm an Assistant Attorney General in the AG's office. My comments this evening are my own as a member of the bar. They do not reflect the position of the Attorney General's office. I have been appearing in front of Judge Mann for about 8 years in a number of different courts and in a number of different roles. I practice in front of Judge Mann as a defense attorney representing clients in criminal court, as an attorney representing parents and children in juvenile CHINS cases and delinquency cases, and also as an assistant attorney general prosecuting cases in the criminal division, and now most recently as an AAG representing the Department for Children and Families and Chin's cases in the family division. So I think it's fair to say that I've experienced Judge Mann's courtroom from all sides. I think Judge Mann even presided over one of the first jury trials I did in Windsor County, and that was an overwhelmingly positive experience, even though I did not prevail in that case. I've had a number of hearings just within the last few months with Judge Mann as I've handled cases in the Wyndham Family Division, where she is currently assigned. Prior to that assignment, I appeared in front of Judge Mann in the Orange Family Division with some regularity. So based on all of that extensive experience practicing in front of Judge Mann over the years, I appreciate the opportunity to comment and support Judge Mann's retention as a Superior Court judge. Most recently, I've appeared in front of Judge Mann related to termination of parental rights cases. Judge Mann has been thoughtful, compassionate, and has the appropriate temperament necessary to preside over what are extremely difficult and emotional cases. I've seen Judge Mann recently connect with parents and children in family proceedings in a way that really eases their emotions and anxiety over the proceedings. She routinely encourages parents to continue striving towards reunification with their children and often takes time out of the hearing to talk with them at length about ways that they could make progress in doing so. She always clearly reviews any filings or updates in the case prior to the hearing, as she's able to speak to particular issues with knowledge and clarity. I will say that Judge Mann is one of the most efficient judges I've appeared in front of in terms of her ability to process large amounts of evidence and issue thoughtful, well-reasoned, and timely decisions. Following contested hearings where the outcome will greatly impact the parties, she promptly issues orders so the parties are not waiting in limbo, waiting for that decision. I can't help but notice that often her orders are signed and filed late into the night, well after the court has closed. So it's clear to me that she goes above and beyond to issue orders as quickly as she can, and her issues are always well thought out and well reasoned. Following status conferences in Chin's cases, she routinely provides written summaries of what occurred during the hearing and the next steps for the case so that all parties are clear on the direction of the case and what is expected going forward. In my view, there's seldom uncertainty as to where a case stands when Judge Mann is presiding. Judge Mann does hold attorneys and parties to a high standard of practice. I think that's been testified to tonight. Court-imposed deadlines and pretrial discovery orders are enforced with the goal of efficiently processing the high volume of cases that come through the court. Last-minute issues that could have been resolved weeks or months earlier are respectfully and fairly questioned, especially when they result in having to delay the case further. Judge Mann strives to start hearings on time and respects the time and preparation that attorneys put into the presentation of their cases. And has been said already, Judge Mann expects the best from the attorneys that practice in front of her, and based on my observations over the years, those expectations result in better lawyering. So thank you again for this opportunity to comment in support of Judge Mann's retention.
Thank you for taking the opportunity. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next, we have Donna Waters. Before you start, I will just read the oath. Do you swear, give you a chance to sit first, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury, or so help you God?
I do swear.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Donna Waters. I'm the Court Operations Manager for the Washington Civil and Probate Divisions, and this is my 20th year with the judiciary. It's my privilege tonight to have the opportunity to offer a few words in support of Judge Tomasi's retention. This is Judge Tomasi's third rotation here in the Washington Civil Division. I believe he's been with us this time since the beginning of 2023 when Judge Mello retired from the bench. As COM, I've had the pleasure of working one-on-one with Judge Tomasi for every one of those years. Together, we've been through countless jury draws and trials, rent escrow clinics, mental health hearings, status conferences, and stalking hearings. At Judge Tomasi's request, I scheduled bench bar conferences which are not only well attended, but full of praise from attorneys on how well our court is run, and that's thanks to Judge Tomasi's leadership. An area of particular note in which Judge Tomasi demonstrated excellent leadership was during the aftermath of the July 2023 flood. Without warning, our entire staff and operations were uprooted and relocated to temporary placement in a neighboring town for an 8-month period. Despite the fact that Judge Tomasi had to share a very small space with another judge to use as their makeshift chambers, he made it a point to show up in person every day when he could have easily conducted the majority of his hearings remotely. He also kept us on track when we happily returned to our building on April 1st, 2024, as there was still much left to be done. He promptly wades through his task queues and patiently responds to our myriad of questions that invariably arise every day. He's well respected by the attorneys and litigants who come before him, as well as staff and our justice partners in the community. I gave staff the opportunity to add any comments they wish to regarding Judge Tomasi, and here are some of them. Always positive, extremely knowledgeable, fair, patient, witty and fun, intelligent with common sense, impressed with his ability to handle difficult situations, gives litigants every opportunity to make their case, and very respectful. The most voiced comment that everyone echoed was the fact that Judge Tomasi greets every single staff member personally each morning upon his arrival. We've had judges in the past who came in the back door, headed upstairs to chambers, and then left for the day without ever crossing paths with staff other than the ones in the courtroom that day, and that's perfectly fine. Judge Tomasi makes it a point to stop by each person's desk, asks how their night was, and wishes everyone a good morning. It may seem an insignificant act, but it doesn't go unnoticed by staff, and it sets the tone for the day. The citizens of Vermont are fortunate to have a dedicated and committed judge serving in the judiciary, and I know of no other judge more deserving to be retained for another 6 years than Judge Tomasi. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for being here.
Welcome.
One final speaker on our list at the moment, and that is Brooke Parent.
Hey, good afternoon or good evening at this point. I do want to apologize. I can't get the camera on my desktop to work.
Okay. Thank you for
But
letting us know.
I do have my hand raised.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury, or so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you, Brooke. Please go ahead.
So I'm here to say a few words on behalf of Judge Elizabeth D. Mann. I started my career with the judiciary March 1st of 2023. It's been a quick 2 years coming right up here. When I started in Orange as a judicial assistant, Judge Mann was already on the bench. I began very green as a judicial assistant and spent a good chunk of my time in the courtroom recording hearings in order to quickly learn all of the dockets, how to use our WebEx technology and the FTR system. What I didn't anticipate learning was the immense amount of emotions that pour from the courtroom and what goes into keeping order in that courtroom with the flood of emotions. Judge Mann, through my time listening to her on the bench, taught me the most effective tools to have in your belt are an open ear, an understanding tone, and a confident outlook into the future. Our judicial process helps correct bad situations. The people who walk in these doors are in some state of stress or conflict. They've been served a notice of eviction, divorce paperwork, struggling with drug addiction. Some of them are fighting to keep their children and trying to divide marital assets. They're also seeking, relief from abusive situations. And these scenarios are absolutely not all to cover the struggles that people face when they come to our court. Many of these folks are riddled with anxiety, frustration, anger, and a lot of times uncertainty and trauma. Judge Mann empowers litigants with her compassionate and optimistic outlooks on their situations. She lets people know that their voices matter and gives them directions on their next step in the court process. Every single case that I recorded for, litigants walked away with a positive message, a clear path forward. Her words many times have left me blindly recording for a moment until I could blink the tears out of my eyes, and I apologize. She makes everybody in that room feel empowered. She always takes the time to explain the process in depth and answer any questions. There's no question when these folks leave, what they need to do, and that their outcomes are in their hands, and they need to do what she's laid out for them to reach their goals, whatever that may be. I remember telling Judge Mann after her juvenile truancy hearings that she should make a video for every school to play for the kids during an assembly, that every child in the state needs to hear Judge Mann's thoughts on the importance of education and how to embrace their original selves. I would like now to personally thank her for her time with me at Orange. I didn't just learn the docket practices while recording for Judge Mann's hearings. I was given the education to continue to grow as a person, to be a great docket clerk, helping people at the window, and to help people in frantic situations after hours for relief from abuses. From abuse. This unbelievable woman is a gift to the judiciary, and I am honored to be here today to celebrate and share with you all of the wonderful things she has to offer to our communities every day. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to do so.
Thank you so much for being here, Brooke. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. I believe that's everyone on screen. So just a check of anyone else in the room. And Lindsay, you haven't gotten any notifications of anyone else who's wishing to speak at this time, right? Okay. So typically what happens is the committee will remain here. We did advertise the hearing as I think going till 6:30.
Yeah, I think it's framed as, which is typical. 7:15 is the latest possible time, but that if no other witnesses who want to testify showing up by 6:30, then the meeting would adjourn.
Okay. So we are here until 6:30 and happy to listen. If anyone is out there and wondering, you have time.
Hello.
We're here, we're ready. We appreciate your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, is it required that we stay on live?
No.
45 minutes?
No.
Okay.
In fact, there have been other times when committee members have stayed reasonably close to the room, but have gone off to the cafeteria or wherever it may be, and I will stay and let everyone know if we get someone else comes in, so that we can track you down and probably sort of know you're in the general neighborhood. So no, there's no requirement that you stay online or that you even necessarily stay in the room as long as you're within reasonable proximity.
Okay. Then I would suggest we go offline.
So do we just go, if someone were to pop in?